rapidly becoming obsolescent. So that's the second sort of big workplace context that is happening today. And if you look at the IT industry which I represent, the amount of time and money that the industry spends in just reskilling their already tech-savvy workforce is enormously high. So that speaks to the rate of obsolescence of skills that are happening in the world. Now, as an individual who is living in that world, what do I need to be able to navigate this world? I need to actually acquire a sense of play, a sense of exploration. I need a beginner's mind. And I need to come at things as if I am a child looking at something for the first time. And that is what will help me master new skills again and again and again as I am called to master. And what gives us a beginner's mind? And it is our anchoring in the idea of mindfulness that is what gives us a beginner's mind. And when you are mindful, you look at objects as if you are looking at for the first time. You are looking at ideas as if you are looking at for the first time, right? You are looking at events as if you are looking at for the first time. And you are once again trying to ask, how do I respond, not react to these, what that is happening around. So even for skills obsolescence, the idea and the concepts and the capacity to be mindful is going to be an extremely important one. The third thing that is happening, right, is we are becoming much more tech-enabled. Thanks to COVID, thanks to technology, lots of industries are even today working in a hybrid mode, means people are working from their homes. And that is again going to give lots of threats and opportunities. But what happens when people are working from home, a large number of people? Just before this, I was in a 1.5 hour call with a team where one person was in Dubai, another person was in Australia, and two others were in India. And we were talking on Teams or Zoom, like what we are doing today. And we were getting business done. But what are we missing when we are doing that? Whenever we are on a call, right? Do you really tell a story on a phone? You don't tell a story on a phone, right? You transact in a very business-like fashion. But organizations and cultures are built by telling stories, right? By sharing purposes and wondering aloud. And when you are working in a hybrid mode, you need leaders who will be able to still tell stories, share purposes, connect with audiences, empathize with them, understand what they are going through. And therefore, for leaders and managers to manage their organizations in this tech-enabled hybrid working world, once again, the ideas of being connected, able to relate to someone else, the ability to empathize, the ability to build and nurture social capital, these are going to be very critical for us to succeed in the new world. And once again, the ideas behind happiness, well-being, mindfulness, social capital, all these are extremely pertinent ideas for the world that is evolving. Fourth thing that has happened to us, we now have access to global markets like never before, right? And thanks to the several events that have happened in the world, a lot of countries which bought from China are trying to diversify their supply chains, which means a lot of countries are open to doing business with India. And open to doing business with India, one has to bridge 2-3 gulfs. One is we'll have to be making in India for the world, which we are trying to do. And second, we must be able to do business with others. And how can we do business with others? When we are able to truly listen, when we are able to appreciate another cultural context, when we are not preoccupied with interpreting and answering what is being said, when we are not caught in our own culture, we are able to approach conversations as if it is for the first time, when we are able to release relationships and partnerships. And therefore, if this access to global market is an opportunity today, if it has to become real, once again, we are drawing upon the same things that cause mindfulness, happiness, and well-being in our workplaces. So once again, there's a lot of alignment between the emerging workplace context and what we need to do. And therefore, the relevance of a conclave like this is much more paramount. Fifth thing that is happening, right? As our society also progresses, and as there is more awareness about all of our different things, we bothered or cared about our physical health and really were indifferent to our mental health, about 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But as we are progressing, as we are becoming more aware, there is a lot more awareness about psychological health, mental well-being today compared to ever before. and organizations that are able to figure out how to measure and improve our collective psychological health in a fashion that is reliable, repeatable, scientific. I think those organizations are the ones that are going to be attractive to the next generation of folks. And you hear in corporate parlance where I work that there is a new generation of people born after 1996 that are coming into this world, and their growth years have been very unique. They have grown with their devices and smartphones, and they are also more aware and conscious about their psychological health. And therefore, organizations that are at the forefront of bringing the concepts and ideas and practices of happiness into their fold are going to actually be attractive to this generation of the workforce. So once again, for these 5 big workplace contexts and changes that are happening in the world, and those very 5 contexts are best addressed by the same ideas that underpin mindfulness and happiness and all the other good things that you are trying to research on. And therefore, I want to establish the fact that it is a very pertinent thing that we are doing. So what is this capacity? Oftentimes, what happens when we are engaged in subjects like these is that they can sound very esoteric, right? They can sound something beyond the reach of others, something that, very spiritual people do. I think we need to secularize these ideas a lot more than what is happening today. And we need to demystify them. And therefore, to me, at the end of the day, what we have is our attention, right? That is what we deploy for all the things that we do and don't do. And our ability to direct attention, our capacity to pay attention in a special way is therefore quite obviously a very important thing to master to be able to operate in this world, right? Whether you want to be happy or not, that's another matter. Whether you want to be successful or not, that's another matter. But if you have to operate in this world effectively, you need to have a capacity to direct your own attention in a special way. And it is not about closing your eyes, sitting in the Himalayas. No, it is not that. We need to bring it down as to what it is. And what does this direction or the ability to direct attention allow us? It allows us to generate several options. So there is a beautiful research by Miss Fredrickson, Barbara Fredrickson, which was one of the most cited papers and that underpinned the idea of positive psychology, where what Fredrickson did was she divided volunteers randomly into 3 groups. To one group, she showed videos that would typically elicit positive emotions. To another group, videos that will elicit neutral emotions, and a third group that will elicit negative emotions. And then she put these 3 groups to solve some problems. The group that was exposed to the positive emotions videos was able to generate more options. Because what happens when we are in the grip of negative emotions is we are in a threat mode. And when we are in a threat mode, we want to narrow our focus and say, how to run, how to escape, right? Or how to fight. So we are not broadening. Whereas the current world and all the VUCA elements that it has requires a creative response, a broadening response to be able to see that from a very different vantage point. And therefore, creating positive emotions for the community is going to be able to make the community creative, functional, responsive. So that's one. And secondly, in the world and the connectedness that we live in, we can easily misunderstand others. We are in a hurry. We are working with very diverse people. And therefore, it is very important for us to operate in the world to distinguish between when sensation becomes perception, right? And to create a gulf between sensation, which is like, my stomach journey, can be interpreted as thrill, hunger, or paranoia, or anxiety. So we need to realize that ultimately we sense this world and have feelings about this world starting from sensations. And when we are able to separate when sensations become perceptions, when perceptions become thoughts, when thoughts become perspective, and when perspective constrains us from operating in the world in one way or the other, we will be able to pause and take in and stop at the point where sensation happens. And that is what mindfulness is for. And if you look at one of the biggest drivers to improve somebody's intelligence quotient, the classical intelligence quotient, is to be able to improve their working memory capacity. And working memory capacity, I simply define as the ability to suppress unwanted inputs and the ability to pay attention to useful inputs for a meaningful period of time for you to be able to solve a problem. So the simple way to understand working memory is to play the N back game. Suppose I ask you a question and you don't answer. I asked you a second question and you answer the first question. And I asked you the third question and you answer the second question. And people play these games as children. And children who play these games have a better ability to direct their attention and work with their limited working memory capacity. So that is what, so we need to demystify this idea that if we are able to direct attention well, that we are becoming mindful. But mindfulness is also not to be misunderstood. So a deer also is directing its attention when it hears a ruffle somewhere and thinking it's a tiger that's about to eat it. That's not mindful. Mindfulness is a very relaxed and leisurely attention, much like an art connoisseur admiring their art. When you stand in front of an art and you notice the little things that are there, then you acquire a beginner's mind. You notice your sensations, you notice how they become perceptions. And you notice a lot in yourself, even as you are noticing a lot in the object in front of you, the art in front of you. And therefore, that's how I would like to understand mindfulness. The third message, so first message is the world and the changes in the world are extremely critical to navigate, and the work that we do in happiness and well-being and mindfulness are very critical to it. Mindfulness has to be demystified. It is not some esoteric thing. It is here and now. We can all measure it. We can cultivate it. That's the second message. The third message that I want to sort of share is that, life is not the same for everyone, and we need to acknowledge that. And often when we oversimplify and say, you are in a worse state, you are in a good state, but both of you can be mindful, we sometimes tend to de-empathize with the other. And people exist in a whole host of psychological spectrums. There are people who have had great childhoods, people who have had not so great childhoods. And that sets again some default things in us, which makes us vulnerable to anxieties, to scars, to many other things. And it is important to understand and acknowledge that there is a psychological spectrum in people, right? And not everybody is equally healthy. And sometimes you need to be able to analyze yourself, what you can call as classical psychoanalysis, to bring awareness to how you respond to the way you respond. What are the main criteria that you go through? What is your inner chatter like? And therefore, by building on this analysis and creating a safe space for that analysis, and then topping it up with mindfulness and the ability to understand your sensations, your perceptions, will actually bring a lot more clarity. So sometimes we go very unidimensional with only mindfulness. And my own humble opinion is we need to start with analysis, especially to help those who are not psychologically healthy. And on top of it, add mindfulness, and we can combine these two things to be able to create a lot of magic in people. The third thing is that, irrespective of the fact that our inner centers can be calm, all of us get provoked by standing in a crowd, right? Our inner inflammatory response goes up. All of us fall ill by not sleeping well, right? All of us, become psychologically unwell by being lonely. So there are characteristics in our life that are not inside us, that are external to us. And these characteristics have to be measured. And if you go to the world studies on happiness and look at countries and what caused those differences, there are certainly some external factors that cause those differences. If you look at the satisfaction with life scale that has been administered across the world, students' response to the satisfaction with life scale in free countries is better than not so free countries. It's not that those individuals are psychologically unhealthy. Those external conditions are making them less satisfied with life. So there are external conditions too that make a difference to how healthy a society is. Therefore, this is not an internal individual sport alone. This is also a policy sport. We have to ask ourselves, how do we make everybody walk 10 more minutes every day? How do we get them to meet and get things, in and around where they are? How do we bring more social connections and communities? And if you look at the GNH model of Bhutan, they have looked at those 9 domains, they measure it very systematically, and then they go back and say, these are the external conditions of life that we must improve for our citizens to enjoy higher state of well-being. So that's the third message I want to give, that you will have to combine the multiple methods. And this is a picture to combine the multiple methods. The first one is, what is bothering you and why is it bothering you? How are you looking at it? And is it functional or dysfunctional? What I call as the analysis and looking at your big book of worries. And the second is to pay attention to what is happening in a special way, in a leisurely way, just like an art connoisseur enjoys his art, to be able to generate options, to become more aware of the world, to become more awake, right? So to enjoy the world, to consume the world. So that is the second part, is mindfulness. The third part is to build a collective around us, which will allow us actually to enjoy the fruits of all of this and make it sustainable by creating the conditions of life and make it more and more create more and more potential for human flourishing in these conditions. For example, how many of us spend 1 hour a week or 3 hours a week on our hobbies, right? Where it doesn't matter, we're not doing it for running a race or buying a trophy or showing off, because we enjoy that. So how do we create conditions where large numbers of people can spend 3 hours a week, pursuing what interests them, nothing else, what interests them, just for the sake of the pleasure of indulging in. So these are some of the things that we need to create. So the conditions of life also has to be worked on, and there is enough research to say what those conditions are and how do we work on them. And last message that I want to give is that we often, especially this is a new subject getting founded, right? When there's a new subject getting founded, a lot of passionate people come to, and then they want to really promote it, and they want to make it part of life. But then they get wounded on criticism very fast. I think the whole deal is, how do you engage with the skeptics of the subject? How do you talk to people who feel that, this is not going to work? They are good intentions, but it's not going to work. Or they are not even good intentions. It's some spin that is being done. So I think it is extremely critical that Charles Darwin, it is said, when he formulated the theory of evolution and wrote The Origin of Species, and he went around the world in that ship called Beagle for 8 years, traveled around the world. The first evidence that he would collect and record is the counter evidence to what he was thinking, because he felt otherwise he would forget it. So we need to have that scientific rigor to be able to record, to repeat, and acknowledge criticism and say, this is what you are saying. If you look at the ancient Indian dialogues, people used to hold their hands as they were debating with each other, because they were affirming the person, they were only negating the point of view. And they had this beautiful practice where the arguments up to that point has to be summarized even better than what the other person spoke. And once the other person acknowledges that, yes, you understood my position, then I go and respond. Whereas we are not as mindful in arguments and conversation these days. So I think we need to learn from that ancient wisdom of recording, repeating, acknowledging criticism, the skeptics. It is the skeptics that will make this subject a very, very core subject. It is not the believers. It is how we engage with the skeptics. And we need to create a double blind, right? When we found the COVID vaccine in India, we did not say it will work when you have a lot of faith in it. We did not take a vaccine like that. We did a test where a COVID vaccine was given and a COVID-like vaccine was given, a dummy was given. And both of them were told that this is a real vaccine. And despite the faith, the COVID vaccine had to produce a better result before we gave approval to it, right? That's what we did. So it's a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial that we did. Therefore, we need to create double-blind, placebo-controlled trials even in this subject for us to be able to make progress here. And we need to record, and we need to publish. We need to be open to criticism. And third, I think we need to not get stuck in one. We should compare mindfulness with simple resting after food. Which of them is lowering blood pressure? We should be okay to do all those studies, right? We should do mindfulness versus studying the subject. Which of them is giving higher scores? So we should have interesting experimental designs and not be compelled to defend a tradition or a school of thought or what we happen to believe in or what we said earlier. They don't matter. What matters is the rigorous inquiry into truth. And publish negative results and positive results. Don't publish only positive results. Right? This is a crisis in social science. We publish only positive results. We should publish negative results. And the COEHS here must create space for negative results. And if we create space for negative results, you would have created a human service to the cause of research. And the last point that I want to make it is that, this science that we are undertaking is perhaps the most important thing that we will ever undertake as a human species. That is what we live and that is what we are here for. And therefore, let us do it with great rigor and great respect and with great skepticism, right? And with great mindfulness. So that's where I would like to end this and wish you the very, very best for the success of this conference. And I know there are, Dashaka Mahura is a great scholar in this field. And I know after me, there are going to be great speakers who have their own experiences, experiments, and a lot of things to share. And I hope you all have a great time learning and advancing this important field of human inquiry. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an enlightening address. I now introduced this August gathering with our second distinguished speaker. I again request the technical team. Thank you so much, sir, for the PPT. Yeah, Shri Akhilesh Argal is our next distinguished speaker. He is the CEO of the Rajya Anand Sansthan, Government of Madhya Pradesh, situated at Bhopal. He is a retired Indian Forest Service officer of the 1986 batch, MP cadre, with field experience in various government departments. Shri Argal has research experience as Head Agroforestry Division at Tropical Forest Research Institute, which is a regional institute of Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, situated at Jabalpur. He has also served as Additional Secretary of the General Administration Department and the Tribal Welfare Department in the Government of Madhya Pradesh. He has been associated with several good governance initiatives across the state. He was key in setting up the School of Good Governance and Policy Analysis, Bhopal, which is now known as Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Good Governance and Policy Analysis. It's an autonomous institute of the Government of Madhya Pradesh and second of its kind in the country. It is surely a privilege for me to introduce Shri Akhilesh Argal to the audience. Sir, I thank you for joining us today, and I would now like to invite Shri Argal for his address. Over to you, sir.
Thanks for the kind words. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Distinguished panelists and other guests, सभी को नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
सबसे पहले मैं आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूँगा वैष्णव विद्यापीठ मैनेजमेंट का, विशेष रूप से डॉक्टर धर एंड डॉक्टर मंडल का, जिन्होंने मुझे यहाँ पर अपनी बात रखने के लिए, अपने अनुभव शेयर करने के लिए समय दिया, मुझे इनवाइट किया। मैं शुरुआत में ही बताना चाहता हूँ कि आई एम नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट ऑन द सब्जेक्ट, but definitely I am a follower of the subject. हम लोग उस आनंद को जिसकी बात की जा रही है उसको प्रदेश में फैलाने के लिए प्रयासरत है, उससे अवगत कराने के लिए कार्यरत है। मेरे ख्याल से अधिकांश लोग को शायद पता होगा कि वर्ष 2016 में मध्य प्रदेश सरकार ने एक अलग विभाग बनाने की सोच के साथ आनंद विभाग की स्थापना की, और यह पूरे देश में अपने तरह का शासकीय, in the government sector it is the only organization which is working for the happiness. जब 2016 में इस संस्थान को स्थापित करने की सोच सामने आई, इस पर विचार किया जा रहा था, तो इसकी पृष्ठभूमि में थोड़ा सा जानना चाहूँगा। उसके पहले तक सरकार का ऐसा मानना था कि अगर हमारे प्रदेश का विकास होगा, आर्थिक संपन्नता आएगी, तो शायद आनंद या खुशी अपने आप उसकी आर्थिक संपन्नता के साथ आ जाएगी। लेकिन तमाम रिसर्च और हमारे अपने अनुभव देखें तो वे बताते हैं कि शायद पैसा और खुशी के बीच में कोई सीधा संबंध नहीं है। हम अपने परिवारों को भी देखें तो आज से 15 साल 20 साल पहले हमारे पास जो सुख सुविधाएं थी, जो साधन थे, और आज हमारे पास जो सुख सुविधाएं और साधन हैं वे कहीं ज़्यादा हैं, लेकिन शायद हमारे आनंद में, हमारी खुशी में उस हिसाब से बढ़ोतरी नहीं हुई है। बल्कि मैं तो अपने अनुभव के आधार पर जब आसपास देखता हूं तो यही कहूँगा कि शायद उसमें बढ़ोतरी तो छोड़े, हम शायद उसमें कमी ही आई है। ये शायद एक कारण था इस विषय पर सरकार की सोच की आगे बढ़ने का। एक और बात तमाम रिसर्च बता रही थी, हमारे अनुभव भी बता रहे थे कि हम अपने कैरियर में, हम अपने जीवन में कितनी भी सफलता प्राप्त कर लें, लेकिन जरूरी नहीं है कि हम सफल व्यक्ति होने के साथ साथ हम एक आनंदित व्यक्ति भी रहें, हम एक खुश व्यक्ति भी रहें। बल्कि उल्टा जरूर है, अदर वे राउंड इट इज very much true that if you are a happy person, you will be successful, whether it in every field, whether it is family, whether it is workplace, whether it is your society, you will be successful everywhere. एक और बात उस समय सरकार के ध्यान में आई कि अगर हम आज से 50 साल पहले देखें तो जो औसत उम्र थी जिस पर डिप्रेशन आना शुरू होता था, that was around 29.5 years, and today it is exactly half, 14.5 years. हम अक्सर देखते हैं अखबारों में कि 14 साल के 15 साल के बच्चे ने सुसाइड कर लिया, क्योंकि धीरे धीरे हम उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं कि बच्चों में भी डिप्रेशन देखने को मिल रहा है, जो कि पहले 30 साल की उम्र में देखने को मिलता था। इस पृष्ठभूमि में राज्य आनंद संस्थान की स्थापना का विचार आया कि क्यों ना एक विभाग हो जो हैप्पीनेस की दिशा में काम करे। उस समय फिर प्रश्न आया कि 52 विभाग तो मध्य प्रदेश सरकार के पहले से ही है, एक और विभाग क्या एडिशन करेगा? और जो 52 विभाग पहले से हैं, जो कि विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में काम कर रहे हैं, हेल्थ है, एजुकेशन है, सिक्योरिटी है, पीस है, सोशल वेलफेयर है, और ये सारे पहलू कहीं ना कहीं हमारे आनंद को टच करते हैं। तो एक और आनंद, एक और विभाग की जरूरत क्यों? आनंद विभाग की जरूरत क्यों? और उस समय जब बाकी विभागों पर बारीकी से उनका परीक्षण किया गया, देखा गया, तो पाया गया कि वे अधिकांश विभाग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे काम कर रहे हैं, हार्डवेयर पे काम कर रहे हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर पे काम बहुत कम विभाग कर रहे हैं, या सीधे तो कोई भी विभाग नहीं कर रहा है। और इस विचारधारा के साथ में कि आनंद विभाग सिर्फ और सिर्फ उस सॉफ्टवेयर के ऊपर काम करेगा जो हमको चला रहा है, जो हमको आनंदित कर रहा है, जो हमको दुखी कर रहा है, हम उस सॉफ्टवेयर के ऊपर ही काम करेंगे और उसी तरफ अपना फोकस रखेंगे। और इसके साथ वर्ष 2016 में we made a modest beginning by establishing Happiness Department and State Institute of Happiness as the executive wing of the department. और हमारे बड़े सीमित ऑब्जेक्टिव हैं, अभी भी सीमित ही हैं, कि शायद हम कुछ नागरिकों को आनंदित रहने की दिशा में उनको कुछ मार्गदर्शन दे पाएं, उनको कुछ ऐसी विधियां और प्रक्रिया उपलब्ध करा पाएं जिससे कि वे एक आनंदित जीवन व्यतीत कर सकें। हम विभिन्न विभागों की जो पॉलिसीज हैं उसमें भी आनंद की अवधारणा को शामिल करना चाहते हैं। एक ऑब्जेक्टिव यह भी है। आनंद के रूप में एज ए नॉलेज सेंटर के रूप में काम करना का एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है। और हमारा स्टेट स्पेसिफिक हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स विकसित करने की दिशा में प्रयास करने का भी एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है, और इसमें IIT खड़गपुर हमारे नॉलेज पार्टनर है। इन मॉडेस्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव के साथ में वर्ष 2016 में शुरुआत हुई। शुरुआत में हमको स्वयं नहीं पता था कि किस तरह से हम शुरुआत करें, कहाँ से स्टार्ट करें। शुरुआत हुई हमारा एक कार्यक्रम आनंद उत्सव का। अभी मैं हमारे जो चीफ गेस्ट थे उनको सुन रहा था, डॉक्टर देशोकर्मा जी को, जिन्होंने कल्चर और एनवायरनमेंट की इम्पोर्टेंस को बताया था। आनंद उत्सव बेसिकली उसी उद्देश्य के साथ में इस प्रोग्राम को कंसीव किया गया कि हम एक साथ 14 जनवरी से 28 जनवरी के बीच में प्रदेश के विभिन्न स्थानों पर अपने जो लोकल हमारे नृत्य, गायन, कला खेल कूद उनका आयोजन करेंगे। और 2016 से एक शुरुआत हुई। कोविड के समय हम लोग आनंद उत्सव नहीं मना पाए 2 साल, लेकिन इस साल पूरे प्रदेश में 10,000 से अधिक स्थानों पर आनंद उत्सव 14 जनवरी से 28 जनवरी के बीच मनाया गया और जिसमें लगभग 20 लाख लोगों की सहभागिता रही। अल्प विराम हमारा सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रम है। इसको हम कह सकते हैं इट इज ए सेल्फ इंट्रोस्पेक्शन प्रोग्राम। हम दूसरों का विश्लेषण बहुत करते हैं, हम आसपास के लोगों का विश्लेषण बहुत करते हैं, लेकिन हम अपने ऊपर ध्यान नहीं देते हैं, अपने को देखने का प्रयास नहीं करते हैं। अल्प विराम कार्यक्रम वास्तव में अपने को देखने का कार्यक्रम है, अपने को अनुभव करने का कार्यक्रम है कि हम आखिर हमारे अंदर चल क्या रहा है, हमारे अंदर क्या विचार चल रहे हैं, क्या भाव चल रहा है, हम क्या आचरण कर रहे हैं, हम क्या व्यवहार कर रहे हैं, हम क्यों आनंदित हो रहे हैं, क्यों दुखी हो रहे हैं, और शायद उसके पीछे के कारणों को जान पाएं और हम उस दिशा में अपने को प्रेरित कर पाएं कि हम आनंद की दिशा में आगे बढ़ सकें। और मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि अभी तक हम लोग करीब 1,25,000 लोगों के साथ में इस अल्प विराम प्रोग्राम को कर चुके हैं। यद्यपि कोई थर्ड पार्टी एवेल्यूशन नहीं है इस प्रोग्राम को एवेल्युएट करने का, इसका इम्पैक्ट देखने का, लेकिन उन लोगों से इंटरेक्ट किया जा सकता है जिन्होंने इस कार्यक्रम में भाग लिया है। और कुछ लोगों के हमने सक्सेस स्टोरी इस अपने वेबसाइट पर भी अपलोड की हुई है, फ़ोन नंबर अपलोड किए हैं, उनसे इंटरेक्ट करके इस कार्यक्रम की प्रभावशीलता को देखा जा सकता है, अनुभव किया जा सकता है। अभी मैं बात कर रहा था कि हमारे बच्चों में आजकल डिप्रेशन की भाव बढ़ रहा है, सुसाइड करने की टेंडेंसी बढ़ रही है। इस बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम लोगों ने 2018 में एक आनंद सभा कार्यक्रम किया जो मुख्य रूप से स्कूली बच्चों को फोकस करता है, खासकर 9 to 12 क्लास के बच्चों को। और अभी पिछले एकेडमिक सेशन से हम लोगों ने इसको एक कैरिकुलम के रूप में इंट्रोड्यूस किया है। सीएम राइज स्कूल से शुरुआत की है, जो प्रदेश में करीब 350 सीएम राइज स्कूल नए खुले हैं, उनसे शुरुआत करी है कि बच्चों को हम जीवन कौशल, जो शिक्षा का मूल उद्देश्य था, उसकी तरफ संवेदनशील बना सकें। क्योंकि आज देखें तो शिक्षा अपने मूल उद्देश्य से भटक करके सिर्फ और सिर्फ नौकरी पाने का जरिया बन गई है, नौकरी पाने का माध्यम बन गई है, और इसके लिए शायद हम सभी लोग दोषी हैं। तो ये हमारा दूसरा कार्यक्रम है। हम लोग अभी ऑनलाइन शुरू किया है, टीचर्स की ट्रेनिंग चल रही है, क्योंकि एक बार टीचर्स की ट्रेनिंग हो जाए, वे इस विषय को समझ सके, फिर अपने बच्चों के साथ इसको आगे बढ़ा सके। आनंदम केंद्र हमारा एक और बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण काम है, विच इज बेसिकली टारगेटिंग द जॉय ऑफ गिविंग। जब भी हम दूसरों की मदद करते हैं तो ना हम केवल स्वयं आनंदित होते हैं, बल्कि सामने वाला भी आनंदित होता है। और इस विषय को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम लोगों ने कोशिश की है कि ऐसे सेंटर्स खोले जाएं जहां पर हमारे पास जो आवश्यकता से अधिक हो वो हम वहां पर छोड़ सकें, और जिनको जरूरत है वे वहां से ले सकें। पूरे प्रदेश में ऐसे 172 केंद्र संचालित हैं, जहां पर कोई भी व्यक्ति अपनी आवश्यकता से अधिक सामग्री छोड़ सकता है, चाहे वे कपड़े हो, पुस्तकें हो, अन्य कोई घरेलू सामग्री हो, बर्तन हो, खाद्यान्न हो, कोई भी चीज छोड़ी जा सकती है। और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात है कि हम ये सारे कार्यक्रमों का संचालन वॉलंटियर्स के माध्यम से करते हैं, स्वयंसेवकों के माध्यम से करते हैं। हमारा जिलों में कोई अमला नहीं है, हमारा मुख्यालय पर भी बहुत सीमित स्टाफ है, 15 लोगों का स्टाफ। और राज्य आनंद संस्थान के साथ आज की तारीख में 75,000 से अधिक वॉलंटियर्स जुड़े हुए हैं। वॉलंटियर्स वे व्यक्ति हैं जो अपने कार्य के साथ साथ समाज के लिए कुछ करना चाहते हैं, बिना किसी मानदेय के, बिना किसी अपेक्षा के। वॉलंटियर बनने के लिए संस्थान की वेबसाइट पर जाकर के कोई भी व्यक्ति अपने को वॉलंटियर रजिस्टर कर सकता है। और इसी तरीके से हमारा एक और कार्यक्रम है वॉलंटियर्स को बढ़ावा देने के लिए, वह है आनंद क्लब। अगर अकेला व्यक्ति कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा है, लेकिन उसके साथ और लोग हैं, एक ही विचारधारा के लोग हैं, तो वे राज्य आनंद संस्थान की वेबसाइट पर जाकर एक आनंद क्लब गठित कर सकते हैं। हम सिर्फ इतना करते हैं, उनकी कोई फंडिंग नहीं करते हैं, सिर्फ उनके कार्यों को संस्थान की वेबसाइट, फेसबुक पेज, यूट्यूब चैनल पर प्रदर्शित करते हैं, जिससे और लोग मोटिवेट हो सके। और इन सारे कार्यक्रमों में राज्य आनंद संस्थान कोई पैसा नहीं देता है, चाहे वे आनंद उत्सव हो, चाहे वे आनंदम केंद्र हो। सारे के सारे कार्यक्रम हमारे वॉलंटियर्स के माध्यम से, आनंद क्लब के माध्यम से, स्वयंसेवी संस्थाओं के माध्यम से संचालित होते हैं। ये एक छोटी सी हमारी राज्य आनंद संस्थान की अभी तक की हमारी यात्रा है। यहाँ पर मैं एक बात जरूर कहना चाहूंगा कि आनंद की यात्रा में आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमें शायद बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, लेकिन उसको अपने अंदर उतारने की ज़रूरत है। हम अगर सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने को देखना शुरू कर दें, हमारी प्रवृत्ति है बाहर की तरफ देखने की, बाहर की चीज़ों का विश्लेषण करने की है, और अगर हम सिर्फ उस दृष्टि को थोड़ा सा अपने ऊपर फोकस कर लें, अपना विश्लेषण शुरू कर दें, तो शायद हम एक आनंदित जीवन व्यतीत कर सकते हैं और हम अपने आसपास के लोगों को भी आनंद की दिशा में आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित कर सकते हैं। और मैं ये भी बताना चाहूँगा कि जो अल्पविराम कार्यक्रम है, हमारा मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट प्रोग्राम है, सेल्फ इंट्रोस्पेक्शन का प्रोग्राम है, उसको जो संचालित करते हैं टीम, जो ट्रेनर्स या फैसिलिटेटर कहें, वो भी वॉलंटियर्स ही हैं। उन्हीं वॉलंटियर्स में से निकल के आए हैं जिन्होंने पहले अल्पविराम में भाग लिया। उन्होंने अपने को देखना शुरू किया, अपने से कनेक्ट होना शुरू किया, उसको जीना शुरू किया, और फिर अपनी चेंज स्टोरी वे लोगों से शेयर करते हैं। हमारे एक वॉलंटियर हैं जो और ट्रेनर हैं जो कि पहले इंटर स्टेट स्मगलर थे, वे अल्पविराम कार्यक्रम से जुड़े, उन्होंने परिवर्तन आया और आज वे अभी पुलिस का पिछले हफ्ते प्रोग्राम था, होमगार्ड्स का प्रोग्राम था, जेल के प्रोग्राम थे, उसमें वे अपनी चेंज स्टोरी शेयर करते हैं जो कि लोगों को मोटिवेट करती है, लोगों को उस दिशा में बताती है कि अगर यह व्यक्ति आनंद की दिशा में आगे बढ़ सकता है तो हम क्यों नहीं आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। मैं अंत में पुनः एक बार आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूँगा डॉक्टर मंडल का, श्री वैष्णव विद्यापीठ विश्वविद्यालय मैनेजमेंट का, जिन्होंने मुझे यहाँ अपनी बात रखने का मौका दिया, और मैं आभारी हूँ हमारे सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का जिन्होंने मुझे सुना। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। आप इतना अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं सर, इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आशा करते हैं कि आप इसी तरह लोगों का जीवन आनंदमय बनाने में कार्यरत रहेंगे। With that being said, let us move forward. And I now introduce our third distinguished speaker. I request the technical team to share PPT for Colonel Premnath. Thank you so much, sir. Now, Colonel Premnath is the Chief Energizing Officer and the Chief Inspiration Officer at Phoenix Safety and Crisis Management, Hyderabad. He has a rich experience of 41 years across the Army, manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, and IT. He has served in the leading MNCs. Colonel Nath is a people person, a multi-skilled leader, and an unconventional change maker, also a motivator, a popular speaker, a trainer, and a consultant in multiple domains. He is a practitioner of happiness with a good sense of humor, as a change maker in safety culture, leadership, and more. Colonel Nath is a winner of several awards, including the India and South Asia Award as the Service Provider of the Year 2020 by the Business Community Institute, UK. He was also shortlisted for a global award in the top 5 globally. The United States Consulate highly appreciate Colonel Premnath for a motivational talk. National media reports show his engaging conversations and motivation sessions among school children with humor. I would now like to invite Colonel Premnath for his address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sujay, and all the professors, all the learned men, all the wise men from the east, west, north, and south, together for happiness. And thank you. I think since morning, I've been listening to all the words of wisdom. Now, time is now 1:36. It's time for food, but also food for thought. So that's what it is. So maybe many of the people, when we started, we had over 150 odd participants. Now we have, the wickets are falling now at a rapid rate. We're close to the lunchtime. And so the sense of happiness is maybe that having the lunch in time and not to listen to all the words of wisdom for happiness. So that's what it has been. So let me wish everybody a very happy happiness day. But the question is, why should we have a happiness day at all? Out of 364 days, is this the only day to be happy, or there are other days? Is there an option to be happy on other days as well? We do celebrate Valentine's Day. You show all the love of all the 364 days on one day. You have a road safety day. And suddenly people are dying, around 340 people are dying every day on the Indian roads. But we have a road safety day as well. Similarly, Valentine's Day, Women's Day. Every day is a Women's Day. Every day is a Father's Day, Mother's Day. So why have separate days, the question? And there's been a, connected with happiness, there has been a World Smile Day also. Are we supposed to smile only on that particular day or even other days as well? So the question is, having these days possibly is a reminder, it's a celebration maybe of happiness. But when you talk about it, the way we talk about happiness, I mean, we should be having very cheerful faces out here, that we should be having people who should be, looking very, very cheerful on this happiness day. When we take a screenshot of a photograph, we should have people smiling at the end of the session and not just very grumpy old faces. The way we say that, yes, watch me, the way I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here on the World Happiness Day. The way you express happiness, are you here for a happiness day or you come for a condolence meeting? We need to be more expressive of expressing our happiness. That's what it is. Many of us don't express our emotions. We are not expressive at all. Whether relating a sad story or a funny joke, the expression remains the same. So the first thing which needs to change in us is that, do we know how to express emotions? Are we expressive while speaking? Are we expressive while meeting people? And that's what it is. One of the most difficult questions in the world when we meet people, we ask them, hey, how are you? I say, Sujay, how are you? So Sujay may be having a problem at home. Maybe somebody's not well, or maybe some other trouble, or he's late for some work, or whatever it is. So he'll say, fine, sir. That fine, sir has got a lot of hidden trauma behind. Fine, sir. Maybe the man he didn't get his pay for 1 month. Fine, sir. So it's a very fake way of, one of the most difficult questions to ask is, how are you? The most fake answer is get, fine, sir, fine, ma'am. Actually, it's not fine. Not everything is fine. And people smile not because they are happy. People smile because they chose to mask. They chose to mask their sadness behind, because they don't want to show to others that they got all the hidden pain and suffering. And what makes you happy is one question. The topic is mindfulness and happiness at the workplace. So I'll focus much on the workplace part of it as well. Happiness was never permanent. It's a transient thing. It's in transit. Happiness is a journey. When you had a cycle, you wanted a scooter. When you wanted a scooter, you wanted a Maruti Alto car. When you wanted a Maruti Alto car, you wanted a Honda City. And thereafter, you wanted a SUV. And the list goes on. A student has got 80%, the marks wants 95%. And the parents are not happy at all. And student wants more marks. A professional requires more money. A young adult wants happy marriage. A woman who gets married wants a loving in-laws. Many of them are outlaws as well. And, a boss wants more work and more profit. An employee wants more freedom. A mother-in-law wants more authority. An old man wants more health. See the variations of happiness over the years. That's what it is. A doctor wants more people to fall sick. A lawyer wants more people to fight. somebody who's repairing your tires, the tire puncture guy wants more tire to be punctured. So one man's misery is somebody else's happiness. The people who manufacture, let's say, mask, want more the COVID to come again so that they can start the mass production of mask again. See the dimensions of happiness. And money, people say, a lot of motivation speakers come and say, ladies and they charge you in several lakhs of rupees. Choose to be happy and do this, and you can do it. Failure is a stepping stone to success. A lot of motivational lectures and all that. You don't know what is going behind his mind. You may get a lot of money. Like in Kerala, someone won a lottery of 25 crores last year. 25 crores lottery, state lottery. He says he was an auto rickshaw driver. He says, I have lost all peace of mind and I can't even stay in my house because I'm besieged by people who come to me asking for money. And he's sought police protection. He's shifted his house after getting 25 crores as a lottery. He was thrilled when he got the lottery ticket of 25 crores as the prize money, but he lost his mental peace. Rich financially, but poor mentally. Last week, a migrant worker from West Bengal won 75 lakhs in lottery. He rushes to the police station because people are chasing him. So happiness is a very complex thing, and you all are the researchers and scholars of happiness. One has to look at it. In the corporates, happiness has got very, very interesting dimensions. Mindfulness. In the mechanical world, like you would have seen my profile, I've been in the army as a colonel, then manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, IT. My last assignment was in IBM. Every place has got a different way, the way they treat people in terms of mindfulness. A lot of layoffs are happening. Layoffs are happening in the most poster boy companies, maybe Facebook, Meta, Google, Microsoft. Layoffs are happening. In one of the IT company, they even had bouncers employed, bouncers to throw away the employees. The day when the employees are called to the meeting room, there were bouncers standing outside the meeting room to throw out the employees. We talk about mindfulness. Where is the mindfulness? Where is the emotion? Where is empathy? Employees have worked with you for the last 10, 15 years. You employ bouncers so that employees don't protest. Think seriously, ladies and gentlemen. This is the way we treat people. We call that HR department as human resource department. That's the worst name you can give to anybody. A table is a resource, a chair is a resource, iron ore is a resource, coal is a resource, solar power is the dam is a resource of energy. You're treating living, breathing human beings as resources. You need to change the name of the HR department as Human Relation Department. Do you all agree? You can put in the chat if you agree with me. The moment you make it resources, it makes it impersonal. Call it Human Relation Department. It gives it an angle of the heart. Any investment in people should be taken as an investment, not cost. We lost the art and science of mindfulness because of a dangerous device called mobile phones these days. I'm sure you agree with me when I say that. And somebody comes to you, walks to you, maybe you're a boss or a leader or whatever you choose to call yourself. Somebody's talking to you. Let's say I have Sujay on the screen. Sujay is talking to me. Yeah, Sujay. Yeah, tell me. Yeah. Okay. Sir, actually, this is it. Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. You're doing this. Where is the mindfulness gone? You put a quiz on a flash quiz across people. What is the definition of mindfulness? People won't know. Somebody is coming to meet you in your office. Maybe you as a professor or assistant professor, whatever it is, vice chancellor or a manager, leader. You have to have that basic etiquette stuff. You should not be keying in your cupboard and say, yes, Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Yeah, okay, Mr. Mandal. Yeah, okay. Then what did you say? You're keying on your keyboard. The first thing is that close the laptop. Look at that person eye to eye. Yes, please. Or Shift your chair like this and listen to him, that you are more important than me, than my laptop, than that email. The email can wait. Shift and face the person who's with you, or move away from your royal chair. Move to the side and speak to the person. These are little acts, but it makes a difference of respect to the people who are coming to you. I hope you all agree. If you agree, put it in the chat and say, yes, we do agree, or we tend to agree. Do you practice this kind of little things, mindfulness, in your workplace? Even at home, your wife is talking to you, your children are talking to you, you're busy looking at an email. Or keep this digitally destructive device away when you speak to people. When you're in a lift, you're talking to people and people are talking. When you get the phone, previously when you used to have landlines, we used to pick up the phone and speak and say, hello, kaun bol rahe? Ye abhi phone utha ke, हाँ bol. And you tend to speak louder, ignoring all the people around you. So I think we need to have a lot of this mobile phone device, and the digital devices has reduced the chances of mindfulness in the corporate. The way we speak to people, the body language is also matters. You put your leg over leg, and then with a cross leg, you speak to people like this. That also matters. Yes, that means you're closed. You're not interested in listening to the other person. Body language matters. Sign languages matters. Most of the time, when people send a messages on WhatsApp, we put thumbs up. Many of us have not read through the message. Somebody has sent a video to you. Dr. Mandal sent a video to you. Hey, this is a very good video on happiness. So 100 of us will put a thumbs up without even going through. साहब ने भेज दिया तो इसके thumbs up मार देते हैं. या बच्चे को बताए ये बेटा ये डॉक्टर मंडल साहब ने भेजा है तो thumbs up मार दे, मैं तो नहा रहा हूं. So this becomes a shortcut to showing acknowledgement. And you should also be realizing that using words like using thumbs up as an emoji has got cultural implications. Be mindful of the people around you. In some of the countries, it's supposed to be an obscene gesture. So another factor which I want to tell about mindfulness of the workplace and the factor of happiness is COVID-19. It has completely disrupted the workplace, COVID-19. People have started working from office to work from home. The extended working hours has happened. Previously, an employee could leave at 6 p.m. and thereafter manager never used to call them. Now it can be at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock and all that. When you're a work from home mode, you're asked to switch on a camera. Maybe a mother who's breastfeeding a child, but she can't do that. But you have to be mindful of that person, the privacy concerns. Someone may be dealing with the loss of a mother or a parent. Someone may be sick. And getting people to the workplace, back to the office is a challenge. And most of the employees in the IT companies have refused to come back. That's also one thing. So COVID has resulted in loss of happiness, loss of jobs, loss of dear ones, loss of business, and loss of everything, and health, wealth, and happiness together. 2 weeks back, last week, I spoke to somebody, and when you pick up a phone and speak, don't ask him, hi, Sharma Saab, kaise ho aap? Sharma Saab, kaise aap? You know, if you speak to him like that, then you hear the voice at the end. Actually, Colonel Saab, I lost my mother, my brother-in-law, my sister, her kid. There were 6 people who were killed in the family because of long COVID. After about 6 months, 8 months after COVID, 6 people died in that family. So when you pick up one phone and speak, don't look too excited. You don't know what's happening around. And then your emotions have to temper down, tone down. Don't say, okay. He's saying he's not okay. The language which you use has to be customized. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. It must be very tough on you to hear that. I can relate to you. And with that emotions, with the pause in speaking, don't say, okay. So you need to empathize with them. You need to be, not like a plastic doll. So we need to be mindful when you speak and converse with people, because you don't know what's happening at the other end. In the workplace, the leaders and managers have a major role to bring happiness in the workplace. Many of the leaders, like to be called as bosses. So the choice is between you. Do you want to be a boss who dominates like a Mogambo, or you want to be a leader who inspires? Same thing in academic institutions also. Why are some of the teachers more respected by the students? Because they deserve to be respected. Even if they retire, people still fall on the feet because you acquired respect because of the way you treat people. And toxic leadership. I do conduct training sessions on these things, dealing with toxic people. Many people are toxic. And managers and leaders and others, bosses, leaders, teachers, they don't accept they are toxic. They think they are the best. They abuse people in public. They rebuke people. They ridicule. They're sarcastic. And the people will celebrate their absence. They say, Mr. Kumar, oh, Professor Kumar nahi hai. Chala gaya, chutti gaya. Oh my God, it's, are kitne din ke liye chutti ja raha hai, Professor sahab? Just 8 din. Your students celebrate your absence. That's a sure shot indicator of a toxicity level. So detoxify yourself. Remove that ego barrier in you. Designations as a managing director, senior vice president, these are all temporary. There's a famous thing which says, okay, when you play chess on a chess game, your queens, the rooks and king and queen and everything else there. Once the game is over, all the kings and queens and everybody is put in the same box. So when you die or after retirement, everybody is together. In an army, maybe a general sahab with 10 vehicles and an escort or a prime minister, but you're buying with a polythene bag or whatever it is, you're buying this thing from the same vegetable. So toxicity has resulted in suicides in the workplace. In Hyderabad, where I'm speaking to you from, toxicity has resulted in one student committing suicide in the classroom. Mental health is a very serious issue in the workplace, especially because of COVID. There is a new standard called ISO 45003. We have heard about ISO 9001, but many of you would have not heard of ISO 45003, a new international standard just released 2 years ago on psychological health and safety at the workplace. ISO 45003. What do companies do? Like I worked in 2 biggest MNCs of the world. What do companies normally do? They outsource. Mental health means telecaller. It is not. Outsource to a third party who's a mental health consultant. No, that's the laziest way of dealing with mental health. Leaders and managers have to own the mental health of your people. You need to be culturally sensitive. Don't crack jokes on, let's say, Sikhs or South Indians or whatever it is, or people from Northeast or wherever, or any part of the country. You need to be culturally sensitive. Etiquettes. The new joiners, a lot of mindfulness and happiness required there. New joiners joining in a company is like the girl going to an in-laws place after marriage. Unknown, you don't know what's going to happen to you, who's going to like you, and what is going to happen to you. Managers have to be mindful enough to take care of them. And when I was in IBM, I had a program called New Joiners Red Carpet Program. A lot of emotional connect with the new joiners were achieved. There has to be very clear instruction. Cafeteria kahan hai, ATM kahan hai, this thing kahan hai. So you need to be very, very careful. And we used to have a buddy system. Each one teach one kind of thing. So new joiners, lot of care, extra care is required by managers. And when you go for meetings, you need to be time. People are waiting for you for the meetings. You need to be mindful. Leaders, you can't be fiddling with your mobile phone in meetings. I mentioned to you this already. Be listener. Next quality is one of the biggest things, and I'm a champion of this. I've been a champion of appreciative culture in companies. I've done a project in one of the companies, how to create an appreciative culture. We are quick to criticize, but slow to appreciate. You all agree with that? Quick to criticize, slow to appreciate. And we appreciate in private, humiliate in public. It should be exactly the other way around. Appreciation is like brushing the teeth. You need to do it every day. At home, at the workplace, to your people, to your employees, your students. Bring out something. And the way you appreciate has to be customized. And very important missing skill these days is listening skills. As you rise up the ladder as a manager, leader, senior vice president, professor, senior most professor, your size of the ear has to increase. You need to listen to people. The size of a mouth has to decrease, but you need to be a good listener. And that's a very, very important thing. And be mindful of people at the workplace, like people with challenges, physically challenged, people with disabilities, and some of the companies have diversity and inclusion. The women employees, look at them, and they need to be taken care differently. They treat them at par, but there are certain special requirements. People are physically challenged. There are certain special requirements. Have escorts. Your digital system has to be in such a way that somebody is hard of hearing. So it has to be catering for those people who can't see properly, have got various physical ailments. Your workplace has to be customized for that. And do remember, you need to be mindful, respectful, bring happiness in the contractors too. In the LinkedIn, I've written articles on these. Contractors, employees are not children of lesser gods. They are the same flesh and blood inside like you. When there's a building on fire, you're not saying, "Acha, ye mera employee hai, ye contractor is, chalo usko chhod do, usko baad mein leke jayega." We all are human beings. So the contractor staff also need to be respected. Take care of them the way you take care of your employees. And talking about you're talking about the soft skills. So what I'm trying to say is, overall, the managers, leaders have a big role to play in mindfulness at the workplace and bringing happiness. Cutting a birthday cake and all is one part of it. That's all ceremonial. But overall, total well-being, mental health is an ignored issue. And the COVID is again coming. So you got a chance to take care of yourself and take care of the employees. So what do the employees do? You need to develop master certain soft skills, like dealing with difficult people, how to deal with difficult people, how to deal with toxic people, conflict management, negotiation skills. These can, and of course, taking self-care of yoga, meditation, other things. So it's going to be a very, very interesting way how we need to, and practicing mindfulness at home. Teach the managers formally in the corporates, mindfulness and bringing happiness, not just a normal corporate induction. Anybody joining your institution for the first time as an academic, teach them about good, bad, and ugly examples of mindfulness, happiness, and toxicity you as a leader. Give them things like, so what I'm saying is, tell them, change the mindset of them. And little things matter in people. A small pat on the back, a small appreciation note, the way you write messages, your empathy, you need to be expressive. And communication is the key. The way you, and as an individual, as a person, practice self-compassion. There'll be nobody else. Your best friend is you. Take some time to reflect and hug yourself. Hugging yourself every day in the morning and in the evening is a good practice for preaching self-compassion and being kind to yourself. And Maya Angelou, the US thinker, and she's a social worker, she said, "I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." People will never forget how we made them feel. Designations are temporary. Positions are temporary. Bank balance is temporary. BMW is temporary. What matters is you as a human being. Be a good human being first, a good manager, professor, whatever it is, later. And stay grounded and stay humble. That's what I need to say. And you should be a person who brings happiness wherever you go. Some people bring happiness wherever they go. And some people bring happiness whenever they go. So it is up to you to decide, you want to bring happiness wherever you go or whenever you go. And people should celebrate your happiness. So spread the word around. If you're happy, express it. And I'm very passionate about this subject. Like you saw my designation also, Chief Energizing Officer. CFO is not Chief Financial Officer, Chief Fund Officer, and Chief Inspiration Officer, CIO. So people have, in LinkedIn also, people approach me. Some financial guys, without even looking the expansion of CFO, "Sir, we are having a CFO summit in which the financial aspects of will be covered of the modern era." I said, "I'm not a finance man. I'm a CFO, Chief Fund Officer." And people are invited for seminars and all without even going through the expansion of what it is. So this is what happens in life. And I'm glad to work with you, the university, and for which has got the Department of Happiness. And this is not the beginning. This is like in Shah Rukh Khan's movie, Picture Abhi Baki Hai Dost. So I think I need to work harder. And with my passion, I'm ready to work with you. Dr. Dasho also, because I was in Bhutan for 2 years on deputation in the military academy of Bhutan for 2 years on deputation. So I moved around Bhutan. I know the culture. I got a lot of happy moments. I'll work with Dr. Dasho also and the university and the Madhya Pradesh government to bring and spread happiness ever. I hope you're happy listening to me and the other speakers here. With this, I bring it to the end. And also the last photograph which you should be taking with all smiling faces with the camera on, so that not with a grumpy face as we are sitting on a funeral or a cremation ceremony. It's a happiness summit. Your face should show that, yes, we are in a happiness summit and not as a sadness summit. That's it from me. Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for those precious words. Well, we are now moving towards the end of this session. So I would take 2 minutes to say a vote of thanks. So thank you is a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt by the heart. I now feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to this plenary session. I would like to thank all the distinguished speakers who blessed us with their presence, and all the participants and the technical team and everybody else for taking their part and making this happen. It was truly an inspiring session. And if time is money, all of you have spent millions for us today. Thanks to all of you for making this event successful. We shall now conclude the session and enjoy our comfort break. Have a nice day and stay happy is all I want to say in the end. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Colonel. Very nice. Really enjoyed. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Shall we now end the session, sir?
Yeah, we'll end now. The technical sessions will begin at 2:30 as per schedule.
2:30.
On a separate link, Google Meet link. And we'll get back on this link for the valedictory session starting at 4:30.
Yes.
4:30. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Duplekaji, thank you so much for being with us. There was a delay in, you were in the background. So hope to see you in the valedictory session. 4:30. 4:30. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.